idea. I will find him!
You're a breed. Men are brave.
It's not about deserve. It's about what you believe.
Could've just peed on him.
Like brunch. Like, what is brunch?
The story of the Defiance is well known.
What, we some kind of suicide squad?
Heroes don't kill people.
Well, I do.
Martha!
Hello everyone and welcome back to Enter the SnyderVerse, where we will be going through every single movie in the DCEU. I am one of your hosts, Kyle.
I'm Nathan, I'm your other host.
And what are we doing today, Nathan?
We're talking about the second outing in this DC Extended Universe. Really the first film that said, we're doing a Marvel. That's what they said. And it was the film that moved it all off the rails, Batman vs Superman, Dawn of Justice.
Is this where it went off the rails?
This is where they got the audience feedback and started to panic and change things for the next movie that was already in production at the same time. Oh yeah, when they were making, they didn't change anything in this because of Man of Steel feedback. They just made the film, and then this is where everyone got studio notes taking over for. Oh yeah, this was the Last Jedi of DCEU, and it's only their second outing.
See, I would argue that, while yes, this movie is conceptually a strange idea, I think making the movie after this at the same time, that was the true off-the-rails moment. But we'll get to that next time.
We will get to that next time.
So, should we just get into this? You got any preamble? How are you feeling today, Nathan?
I'm feeling great. Yeah, we should probably just jump right into it. So, are you feeling okay? We can cut all of this.
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling alright.
That's very good. I'm happy to hear it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, me and Kyle done a little bit of a strange one for this experience. Kyle, how did you first come to this film?
How did I first come to it?
Yeah. Well, this is your first time, right? But I'm giving you pipe, right, Kyle? I'm giving you something to do here.
Okay. I opened up Netflix and I watched the movie.
Yeah, I suppose you did do that. Really, Kyle, the question there was like a journalist in an interview giving you some lead to answer the question in a satisfying way for the audience.
Oh, okay. Well, Nathan, this is my first time watching the film.
Ah, okay, yeah. Well, this is going to be a theme for this podcast. Bar 1 or 2. So I first saw this film in the cinema, the theatrical version, after I was still in high school at the time, and me and my friend went after an exam. We had one of our big end of year exams and the weather was horrid, and then we decided to hop ye old public transport into the city, and we went and saw it after school, and it was certainly an experience. I was very excited for this movie. I just remember that the big hype was kind of massive, but then before the film even came out, the trailers, that was something you should know about Kyle, is he doesn't watch any of the trailers, do you, for anything?
I usually watch the first trailer and then just get a general idea and then skip them all from there.
So I am just an addict for marketing material. I just like it. Because for me, the lead up to the film is almost like its own thing. It's its own entity. And I like to see how is the business treating the movie, because that can tell a lot about how they think the quality of the film is. And for the final trailer for this movie, it was 3 minutes long, and it spoiled every twist and turn in this movie, apart from maybe the death of Superman. Spoilers, by the way.
Yeah, we're going to spoil this 6, 7, 8-year-old movie?
Yeah, 2016, yeah. Yeah, they showed Doomsday in the trailer, and the people that were familiar with the source material knew kind of what that meant. So I guess they kind of almost in a roundabout way did spoil that. I think Wonder Woman was also over the marketing. I believe she was. Yeah, because there was a lot of Turkish airline tie-ins with this, where Ben Affleck and Gal Gadot were doing Turkish airline adverts, and they were featured in the film.
When you see that Wonder Woman is on a Turkish airline flight, I don't know why, but that just triggered something in the back of my brain. This should mean something to me that she's on a Turkish airline flight. I feel like I've heard that before.
Yeah, it's just massive ad campaign. That's all it is. That's a wee bit of brand dealing right there. It's like when someone in the Spider-Man movie picks up a Sony phone. So this film was made in, I think, 2015, I believe, and it was shot on a budget of $250 million, which, man, do you remember when films were made for that cheap?
Why, that's cheaper than the Marvels, Nathan.
That's cheaper than most superhero movies in such a small space of time. Now, this film did go on to make bank, to be fair, despite how divisive it went on to be. It made just under $1 billion. It made over $870 million at the worldwide box office. So that covers its marketing and all such things. Terrific outing for the business side of things. They probably took it as a massive W. Did the fans take it as a massive W, Kyle?
Well, interestingly enough, I did pull up the Rotten Tomato scores in my notes this time.
Yeah.
So, for critics, we have a very solid 29%.
Oh, great.
And audience score, we have a 63%, which, it is positive, but that's low even for an audience score.
Yeah, it is. It is. The DC seems to be one of those... DCU was one of those properties where, like, the fans and the critics battled it out, but even the fans always weren't on the same page.
We talked about this last time. There's a very specific subset of DC fans that are very, very hardcore, and then there's a lot of people that are kind of like you, I would say, who like, I like the movies, but I acknowledge they have some flaws.
Yeah.
And then there's
we wanted
another
it
group.
to be more. Yeah, there's the extremists. They'll do anything.
There's heroes on both
The
sides.
SnyderVerse to Netflix. That's what we'll say every week until it happens, Kyle. That's our campaign.
Yep.
Well, it's some people's campaign.
It's, what it demonstrates? It's just a really solid understanding of how business works, that
Oh,
is.
yeah, it screams, I'm an intellectual. That's what it screams.
Right, okay. You gave your thoughts on the movie first last time, so I guess it's my turn.
It is your turn.
So, I will say that I think the first 7 minutes of this movie are amazing, genuinely excellent. I love the first 7 minutes of this movie.
It's a great opening 7 minutes, isn't it?
And then, over the course of 2.5 to 3 hours, it devolves into absolute schlock.
I would never say it goes that far.
I think, looking back now, I was too hard on Man of Steel because this movie is just bad. It's really bad. It's, I did not enjoy watching it. I had a bad time. Seeing Batman kill people physically hurts me. You can call me a baby for that if you want, and we'll get into it. But
yeah, we will.
Just seeing Batman like stab a knife into someone's heart and gun down 100 people in the Batmobile and blow up a guy's flamethrower tank with Martha Kent still in the room, like all of it just hurts me.
Wonderful stuff. Audience, I can tell you I loved all this.
Yeah, I think the idea of making your second outing in this universe be a Batman v Superman movie is insane. I think the entire fight between Batman and Superman in the movie, the draw of the movie, is dumb. It's a bad fight for bad reasons. Lex Luthor is the most frustrating character in any piece of media I've ever seen. Also, the idea that you would kill Superman in the second film before you do a Justice League movie, insane. Ridiculous. Like it means anything, because obviously they're not going to do a Justice League movie without Superman in it.
Well, when we get to the Justice League, we can talk about the marketing for that film, because it's a doozy.
I have like a full 1.5 pages of notes about everything in this movie that frustrated me. But, those opening 7 minutes, though, were very good.
Well, I'll talk about my general thoughts on the film, then we can actually talk about maybe the start of the film a little bit more.
Yeah, you go.
In
contrast.
Yeah, in contrast. It'll be a whiplash, ladies and gentlemen. When I first saw Batman vs Superman, actually, a bit like Kyle, I was a little bit tired. It was just kind of like I didn't really understand why they felt a desire to kill Superman in the film. And also, oh my god. This seems to be a bit of a meme, but sometimes people don't really realise it's a meme until you hear the online chatter afterwards. When I saw them doing the death of Bruce Wayne's parents in the cinema, I rolled my eyes so hard. I was like, oh, we're doing this again? Like, everyone knows at this point. Like, it felt like Batman Begins, even though it was 11 years earlier, it was only 5 minutes ago. I didn't need the death of Bruce Wayne's parents again. Like, everyone knows it. Like, the Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland were smart enough to not go over the Uncle Ben death,
You know what? I laughed when he broke Martha Wayne's necklace with the cock of the gun. That was something special.
Yeah, so I was kind of I'm a little bit done with the death of Bruce Wayne's parents, just because everyone knows it. I guess if this is supposed to be a big cinematic universe and Batman's one of your pillar characters, you just want to do it so that you can say this universe did show that, this universe's version of it. I guess, like a checkbox, something to check.
And they cast like a recognisable guy as
Jeffrey Dean Morgan
as what's his name?
Thomas.
Mr. Wayne. Old Thomas Wayne.
Yeah.
So that they can one day bring him back in a Flashpoint story, which they didn't actually do at the end
Oh
of the day.
yeah, like so I have something in my notes that'll come up later where I want to talk about how, even though this film might have been a bit of a mess, I actually think that this film and Suicide Squad to a certain degree do quite a good job at sort of trying to set a direction for this universe. And then by the time we get to the 2017 Justice League, everything just starts to collapse. But I genuinely feel that this film and Suicide Squad are trying to give a direction for these films that just doesn't happen. Wonder Woman's a good film, but because it's set 100 years earlier, it doesn't do that. But it's
more self-contained.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. But yeah, so I then went on to just kind of forget about it, like whatever. I never saw this film more than once in the cinema, but I have gone on to actually quite enjoy it. After the fact, the infamous Ultimate Edition came out, which is half an hour longer. That's actually the version I watched for doing this, because I own it. Kyle, you watched the theatrical cut, didn't you?
I watched the theatrical cut, which is the one available to me on Netflix.
Yep, that makes perfect sense. But me being my physical media shill that I am, I own them. I thought, well, you know what? Let's do a little bit of intrigue here. We can talk about the bits that the Ultimate Edition adds. Now, I should say, a lot of people seem to think that it saves the film. I don't know if I would say that. I think maybe historically I may have, but after watching it this time, I don't know if it does. But I think it does make characters in the film come off better. Like, I would say that Lois Lane feels a lot more fleshed out. Maybe the framing of Superman at the start makes a lot more sense. But that's really it. Also, Clark Kent does a bunch of detective stuff to, like, kind of figure out Batman, you know? To speak about my thoughts on Batman, I don't mind that Batman kills people. I really don't. I know Batman is, the ultimate super detective, and he doesn't kill people. He's there to solve crimes. And he puts his villains in Arkham Asylum, keep them alive. But I enjoy... Now, this, again, could just be part of... Because it was so ingrained into me at the time. I remember a lot of the marketing being around this movie. It was like, this is an older Batman that's been doing this for a long time. He isn't new to the job. And he'd started off like a traditional Batman, but he has taken a darker turn. And I think
they're doing the Dark Knight Returns. I understand.
Yeah, to the film's credit, I think the film doesn't exactly glorify his murderous rampage, apart from the warehouse sequence. That glorifies it.
And the chase sequence where he's like blowing cars up.
Yes, but what? Yeah, but I mean that's cars. We don't care about the people in the cars.
Those are just drones. We're doing Arkham Knight rules.
Yeah,
right?
exactly, right. And
even though for some reason that truck had a minigun in the back of it for no reason at all.
Oh, so cool, Kyle. And I think the film does talk about how, like, we're criminals, and Alfred's a bit like, things are getting a little bit, much here. You've kind of taken it. And there was the awesome. I think it's almost haunting, the Robin outfit that's on like a mannequin. It's like haha jokes. I love it. For me personally, it oozes like world building. Like there's a story, something's happened here. Now you could say, well, maybe make that movie first. Make that movie before you get here, so that we know what it means.
You know what it reminded me of? I had a good friend, a younger friend of mine who died a few years ago. And to honor him, I displayed his bloody outfit that he died in. I keep it displayed in my living room at all times, just to remind me of him.
Well, I don't see it so maybe dismissive as that. I see it as like this is to remind him why he does what he does. Batman's a pretty sick man. I don't think somebody that has to go to be Batman is never, even in the like good old days of, you know, Adam West, that's not a mentally healthy man that's doing that. You got to be a little bit unhinged. And yes, had you made a Batman vs Superman at a later point in this timeline and maybe made a standalone Batman movie first, where maybe this is all fleshed out, you could say, well, that actually has meaning now because we experienced the events that led up to that. But I am somebody that quite enjoys hints of things if the promise is that we're going to get there. Because Ben Affleck was supposed to go on to write and direct and produce and star in his own Batman movie. It ended up obviously becoming Robert Pattinson, Matt Reeves' project that isn't connected to the DCEU. But on the release slate, once upon a time, that was supposed to be a Ben Affleck project. And I think it was supposed to be set kind of before BVS and before, you know, aliens came to Earth, and it was supposed to be a much more kind of grounded film.
Yeah, but let's be real here. They were never going to do Robin in this universe.
I think they would have. You might have not liked the version of Robin that they done, because they seem to do a lot of things creatively different from tradition, but I think they would have done Robin.
Well, yeah, because apparently the Robin who died was Dick Grayson because they don't give a crap. Whatever, right? We're still thoroughly in the age where people think Robin is lame, so I don't think they would ever have put Robin in a movie.
That Robin Batsuit looked pretty metal, though. I think they would have done bits.
It looked like the Arkham suit. It's fine. Like, we'll get to the Batman kills people think, because I have a lot of thoughts on this, as you may imagine.
I bet you do. I see. One thing I was doing, I was taking notes for this audience, is I very much almost fell into Kyle's mind, because I was thinking, what would someone think of this if they hadn't seen it before, and especially if maybe they don't have like a little bit of nostalgia goggles on, which I do. And things like that did pop up to me. Like, Batman kills people, is this supposed to be what the character does? No, it isn't. This is definitely a different take on the character. But I'm also somebody, I love the Injustice games, that story, like the dark timeline of where everything goes to shit, which is clearly what this universe was going to be. So this was all right up my alleyway. And if you have a different, like, more mainstream view of the characters, yeah, this is just not going to be for most people. But that every move in this movie was so up my alleyway. So why don't we talk about the start of the film, Kyle?
Yes, let's start off on a positive note. So
yeah.
The movie starts, it's the end battle of
mankind
Metropolis.
is introduced to Superman.
It's the end of Man of Steel, and we retcon that Batman was also there. He wasn't as there as Batman, he was there as Bruce Wayne. And
he looks the part. He so looks the part.
Look, okay. I like Ben Affleck. I think he's a very good Bruce Wayne. I think he's a less good Batman, but I think he's a really good Bruce Wayne. But yeah, so it's Bruce Wayne. He's trying to rescue some people, but he isn't in Batman, so he has to kind of be careful about it. And it's a really solid action scene. I think it might genuinely be the best action scene in the movie.
It's the opening of this film gets universal praise. I think it's like the start of Revenge of the Sith. It's just he's running around, he's in Bruce Wayne mode, he's going the Jeep, and up in the sky you just see everything collapsing above you. Oh, it's terrific. It's such a good motivation as to why he should be wary of Superman.
That's the thing, it perfectly establishes your stakes, right? This is why this guy hates Superman.
Yeah.
The movie does a much worse job of establishing why Superman hates Batman.
I don't think he ever does hate Batman.
He does. He's like, Clark Kent is like, we have to take this guy down. He's whatever. He does exactly what I do, but I'm a hypocrite and I don't like him for doing that.
Well, I think Clark Kent, as like a journalist, is trying to find the truth about what he's doing, and like he's using his journalistic vigor to be like, we need to find out what a vigilante's doing. But Superman, Kal-El, when he shows up, when he's like, the Batman dies tonight, this is your warning, and I'll fly away up into the sky. I think he's much more kind of sympathetic, but this needs to stop.
But why? Why is Superman so against the idea of other superheroes?
Because he kills people, Kyle.
And Superman doesn't kill people?
I think he causes collateral damage that he has to reckon with. I don't think he likes
The
it.
first thing we see Superman do in this movie is smash a guy through 3 brick walls at super speed. That guy is dead.
That's because they were going to kill Lois.
Well, fucking hell, man. Like, that's still murdering people. That's still exactly the same thing that Batman is doing.
If it's your only option, I think he'll do it. I think Batman could very easily not kill people, but still does it.
Sure. I don't see how Superman is not being a massive hypocrite here.
Well, why don't we stick on the positive notes right now for Batman's motivations? Let's stay on Batman's motivations.
Sure. I mean, I still think the idea that Batman would jump straight to, I have to murder this guy, is a bit much, especially since the movie does do that weird montage of Superman saving people where he's really, like, sad about it, and it's, like, presented as a burden.
Yeah, but Batman seems to be convinced that everything is going to go sideways at one point. Like, you know the scene with Alfred where he's like, a 1% chance must be treated as an absolute, and it's very intense.
Yeah, but then he changes his mind for reasons that are in our intro.
Yeah, it's never going to leave our intro. I have watched a lot of video essayists break down BVS before, so I don't really know how many thoughts I'm going to have that are original, even if they're genuinely held.
Don't worry about it.
Now, just through having read and watched a lot of people discuss Batman vs Superman and the Martha scene, I now understand it. I still don't know if I'm utterly big on it.
Oh, I understand what it's about, because, like, I get what they're going for. I just think it's a stupid scene.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, as we may have spoken with Man of Steel, I'm just going to accept the film's premise. I like for that bit. I just because I like the rest of the film enough. I'll let Martha go. So we get a lot more religion in this film, don't we?
Oh boy, do we.
We get a lot more. Everyone, that one's common criticism of specifically Zack Snyder's films in the DCEU is everyone's a Christ-like figure. Superman is Christ. Batman is Christ reborn when he goes into the Batcave.
They have like a guy on the news who's like, we have to understand that this is the second coming and all that. Like, it's all just straight out there. There's no subtext about this whatsoever.
Yeah. He also does some Christ-like imagery with the Joker.
Oh, sure. Batman
Justice
being
League.
lifted up by the bats and all that.
Yeah. Like but I think people say that if you know it gets messy with if everyone is Christ, like who the hell is the allegory for? You know, I like to think that religion can mean different things to different people, and different people can be seen as religious figures. Because lots of people, when Clark Kent goes to Gotham, and he's interviewing this might be in the Ultimate Cut. He's speaking to people like the lady that testified against Superman.
Yeah, this is not in my cut. I don't remember this.
Right, okay, doke. So there's a scene where he goes, or no, it's the family of the man who Batman brands. Remember Batman brands a guy?
I do, and then they get murdered in prison, and
Right.
I understand that's explained in the Ultimate Edition, but it's not in the theatrical cut.
Yeah. So he's like branding people just because I think he just wants, like, he's fed up with people just sort of getting away with their crimes, and he's like, the prison system will take care of them.
Yes,
And,
but
anyway,
the
so
link
Clark-
between that and murder is not clear. Like,
Yeah.
why would other prisoners care that you're branded by a Batman? Surely it would be a mark of pride or something.
I think it's because like he was a sex trafficker, and prisoners don't take that kind of too kindly.
Yeah, but the actual truth is that Lex Luthor was paying people, right?
Yeah. So anyway, he goes to speak to the family, but the wife and child have gone missing. Not missing, they've gone to hiding, and they're saying, like, they fear for their lives from the Batman. But then there's like some other neighbours that are like, the only people that should be scared of the Batman are people who have reason to be scared. If you've not done anything, he's not going to touch you. And there seems to be a very understood knowledge from people in Gotham, from the civilians anyway, that if you're just some person, you're gonna be fine. Batman's not going to touch you, and these people just aren't scared of Batman. They're not criminals, or they're not super, they're just people, and they're just like, Batman's not going to touch us, we're not bad people, and Batman only goes after bad people. And this is where, like, this is them telling Clark Kent this when he's in journal mode, Mm-hmm. And I think the film does a couple scenes of this, because he eventually does track down the family, and he goes to the GCPD and he's looking for like crime stats, and they kind of start to get like a more rounded view of who Batman is by the end of the film. That's why even before he goes to see Lex Luthor on Lex Luthor's helipad, the location of our new Twitter account, ladies and gentlemen, at the DCEU on Twitter.
Yeah, I will have it linked in the description this time.
By the time he goes to Superman goes to confront Lex Luthor on that helipad, there has been multiple scenes of people basically kind of explaining who Batman is to Superman. So it's not just that one scene with Lex Luthor and he's like, Bruce, we need to work together.
Yeah, well, none of this is in the cut I watched, so the only stuff with Clark and Superman that's in the cut is that Perry doesn't want to run the story on Batman because no one cares about Batman, I guess.
I have this in my notes here. Lawrence Fishburne is a wonderful sleazy tabloid editor.
He sure is. You know, he's bringing it as the sleazy tabloid editor.
He's just great because I don't even hate him. I just think, oh, you son of a gun. Like he just cares about the business, you know. He needs to make those front pages. I quite like the scene where Lois is like, let me go to DC for a couple of days. And they're arguing about what class of travel does she get, coach or economy plus.
I enjoyed that too, because he's giving Clark shit for his story, and then Lois is like, yeah, just do whatever you want, Lois. You always get front page news.
Yeah, here look at this bullet I pulled out of the desert, you know?
Well, okay, can we talk about this? Why? How could they possibly frame Superman for murder with bullets?
So, this is the Ultimate Edition. This is where it really fleshes out. So, see the private military people?
Uh-huh.
They also have flamethrowers. When they shoot everyone, they pile the bodies up.
I did see that after the fact, right? But surely an examination of the body would still reveal bullet wounds.
I think they're pretty thoroughly charred up. I think like they are melted. I don't know if the melting point of bullets, but you know.
Second point then. Who cares if Superman killed a bunch of terrorists?
These were civilians that were in the area.
Were they?
Yeah.
Okay, my cut doesn't make that clear either.
There's lots of like kind of women around. You know, the wives of the terrorists, the rebels, because the rebels.
Sure, okay. The movie I watched, they just shoot a bunch of terrorists.
Yeah, no, there's lots of people, because that lady that testifies in front of Congress.
Right.
She's one of like the relatives or survivors of them. She got away.
Okay, sure.
Ultimately, it clears it all out, so like everybody thinks he laser visioned all these civilians.
Uh-huh.
These non-combatants. Though I suppose the US military was about to drone strike it anyway.
Is that part of the movie as well?
Oh, is that the Ultimate Edition only?
Yes, there's nothing about a drone strike.
Oh, right, okay. So you haven't seen like the Call of Duty Black Ops types riding horses to go save Lois Lane? And then they're like, we're sending in a drone strike to deal with the terrorist threat because...
None of this is in the movie.
You know the cameraman that she's with?
Yeah, that's supposed to be Jimmy Olsen,
That's
right?
supposed to be Jimmy Olsen because...
Sure is.
Zack Snyder didn't know what to do with Jimmy Olsen in this universe.
Make him a spy.
Make him a CIA spy. So he's down, and then there's like some US military assets like on horseback a few miles out, and they're like, we're gonna ride in and we're gonna take Lois out of there. And then the like CIA people are like, negative, we're gonna blow up the place. And then they're like, well, it's going to be danger close because it's going to be friendlies in the strike zone. And they get on their horses and they ride in, right, save the day. And then the drone is quicker than their horses, obviously. Uh-huh. So the guy gives a little middle finger to the drone as it flies by, and the drone operator can see it on the camera. Little funny comedy moment, right? And then just as it's about to hit the target, it gets smashed out of the air by Superman. Superman
I see. Okay.
Directly stops the drone strike. And then he barges through, the walls and stuff like that, and then he pulls people through the bricks behind him, and then swiftly takes out the general.
Uh-huh.
So that's all kind of, again, see these little moments all thoroughly fleshed out in the Ultimate Edition.
See, we can keep saying that. I don't know if that's like an acceptable defense, in my opinion.
How
that
so?
You have to watch an extra half an hour of the movie to understand the movie.
I mean, to a certain degree, that's always the case with a film. A film needs to be edited smartly enough to, or like allowed to have enough runtime. Like you could say we'll cut out half an hour of Infinity War, and then you
part
could
of
say,
the problem with this movie is there's too much stuff in this movie.
Yeah,
to begin with.
I think that with the studio demands, the creatives will probably swiftly feel quite encumbered. Again, because they're trying to do their Civil War at their second entry. It's a very strange decision to do it. You know, it puts a lot of pressure on the creatives to start to tie everything together, especially if you want essentially your sequel to this to be your Justice League. Like, you've got a lot of work to do.
It's so weird too, because it's like Suicide Squad, they were obviously trying to cash in on Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Yeah, we'll talk about that a lot when we get there.
But with this one, it's like Civil War wasn't even announced yet, so
yeah.
It's not as if they were trying to cash in on that trend. No one was forcing them to do a Batman v Superman movie as their second film.
I think they were trying to beat them to Civil War, though.
I guess.
Because the Russo brothers spoke about it in an IGN article at the time. They were like, yeah, we had a pitch for Civil War, but Kevin really wasn't convinced. And then after Batman vs Superman was announced, they then decided that they had to start doing stuff with the material, or we would start losing audience because people would be looking at what DC's doing. They thought it was more dynamic and more interesting. And that's it. It's weird that, but the only thing is, Marvel had all this ground laid, this track put down to warrant their Civil War, even if maybe it wasn't their idea to make it.
Because, like, Batman v Superman is also a thing in the comics, but it happens after, it's similar to Civil War, where they've been friends working together for years, and that adds more drama to it. Whereas in this film, they've just met each other.
I think they wanted their real Civil War to be their Injustice sort of nightmare Justice League when they got there.
Sure, because they have the random nightmare sequence in the middle of this movie.
Yes, like, that's all building to stuff. Like, that comes back, you know?
I'm aware, but it's
really
completely out of place in this movie.
No, because it's like a vision that Bruce Wayne's having, and then he wakes up and Barry Allen's there, and he's like...
And then he wakes up again, meaning that was also a dream.
It's a dream within a dream, but it's supposed to be ambiguous. Is it a dream, or is it just like a vision that he's had and he's passed out? You know, because I put on the subtitles because I've never been quite sure what the hell Barry Allen's actually saying.
He sings, Lois is the key to all of this. And all that.
But I know it's Lois Lane. She's the key, but he says other bits and bobs, like he's speaking to someone else behind him in the portal. And the subtitle was like, he grunts in frustration that he says to someone, "I'm too early." You know, this is too early? And he says, "You're right about him. You're right to fear him." Lois Lane's the key, like, because he's coming from the nightmare. He is coming from the apocalypse timeline. And in Zack Snyder's Justice League, where you film new scenes for it, you do see them all together. You know, it's there was such a vision, Kyle. People seem to really don't like where this was all going, but
I think this was all a terrible idea, just for the record.
Yeah, I so disagree. I love all this, like, Superman snapped because of the death of Lois Lane, and he's gone evil working for Darkseid, and Batman's got to lead a resistance to restore order to the world. Fantastic. And actually laying seeds to what's to come. Oh, terrific. I just wish that we got it, because the studio really started to flip-flop after this film. And because you know how people always talk about studios learn the wrong lessons?
Yep.
They found the easy sort of fix-all issue with Batman vs Superman was, it was too dark and gritty. That really wasn't the issue. I know people had issues with maybe Batman killing people, but I don't think the tone of this film was the problem. There was other issues with it. And they just thought, let's make the films funnier. And in Guardians of the Galaxy, obviously, they just turned Suicide Squad into a jukebox film. Wonder Woman was a little bit lighter, but it was still really good. That also, produced by Zack Snyder, directed by Patty Jenkins.
Well, let's talk about Wonder Woman, shall we?
Let's talk about Wonder Woman. That's a good point.
Because I like Wonder Woman. I think Gal Gadot is quite good as Wonder Woman. I mean, I know she's a bit of a cancelled figure right now. We're not going to talk about it. But just in pure terms, I think she looks the part. I don't think she's a bad actress, which some people seem to think she is. But what the hell is she doing in this movie, Nathan?
I quite like her in the film.
I think she's good in the film, but what is she doing in the film?
Just to world build. I think, had at the end of the film she be the one that used the spear to kill Doomsday, that would have been her purpose in the film. Because Superman cannot carry the spear. Batman cannot carry the spear because he will just get turned into red mist. Wonder Woman's the person to carry it, right?
That's the thing in that fight too. It's like they're talking about how, like, only Superman can do it when Wonder Woman's right there, and she seems to be having a blast fighting this thing. Like, it doesn't even seem to be that difficult for her.
Yeah, like, she's not
she's
winning.
Like, smiling and...
Yeah, she's not winning the fight, but she's also not in any danger.
No.
I think that, like, had she been the one to carry the kryptonite spear, that was her purpose in the film. You set her up earlier in the movie so that she doesn't just show up in the third act out of nowhere, and that's her plot purpose. But because she doesn't do that...
I'm going to disagree with you on this point.
Right, okay.
I think Batman should obviously be the one who ultimately kills Doomsday through, like, ingenuity or something. Because then you get, like, the whole, like, working together as a team. And Superman realizes that even though Batman, he's just a human, he's still got value. And, you know, it brings it all. Because he's got that, like... That seems obvious to me, and then you just don't have Wonder Woman in the movie because it's a Batman v Superman movie and you don't need Wonder Woman in it.
I think that this... I mean, I guess it all depends how you write it, but I can perfectly believe if you write it in such a way that Batman is the valuable tactician, you know, and he uses all these gadgets and stuff, but he's still no match for Doomsday. I just can't imagine any such world in which Batman is a match for Doomsday, even in, like, the comic books. It's
not about being outmatched, it's about... brains versus bronze, you know?
Well, yes, I understand that, but...
He can outsmart Doomsday.
Yes, but in what sense? What, he just...
Well,
he creates
because then Batman had something to do in the final fight, because in this version he has nothing to do in that final fight.
He can be an expert strategist. I couldn't get that word out.
What strategy is there to use against this Doomsday, though? He's just a big EMP machine. Okay.
I'm leading him away from the city. I'm taking him to the deserted
island. We're jumping ahead,
islands.
because Wonder Woman is in other parts of the movie. She steals Batman's, like, hacking
USB
thing.
Stick, yeah.
Which, even, she says she doesn't find the photo on it, even though Batman just clicks a folder and opens it, so I don't know what all of that was about in the first place.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then she opens some folders with the Justice League in it for no reason at all.
So this is what I have in my notes here. We get a scene with Lex Luthor speaking about this as well. The meta-human thesis. He wants the import license for the kryptonite rock.
Right, this is where we get the Granny's peach tea line.
Yeah,
yes.
But he speaks about, you know, we not need rely on the kindness of monsters, right? Mm-hmm. Because he thinks that humanity is vastly outmatched, and there's a meta-human thesis, some sort of academic belief, maybe based in science, that there are people living among us with extra powers, you know, like Inhumans in Marvel, right? Mutants.
Sure, yeah. God, remember Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? That's a good show.
And not relevant to this show, Kyle. Code the name not included for more on that. And there's a belief that these people live amongst us, and we should start finding out who they are, maybe recording them potentially, and definitely having a defense against them. Superman being the poster for this now. The metahuman thesis, I think, probably pre-existed Superman, and these files are just evidence of it. Aquaman, the Atlanteans in general, Wonder Woman, probably also the...
It's just the idea that this is how you would introduce the rest of the Justice League, as like little folders.
Well, see, I hear that being something that is widely spoken about, like that's a really weird choice to have them as little folders. But now, again, if you concede that this is just what they've done, the studio has decided that this is going to be their second entry in this world, you know, it definitely requires a certain amount of maybe audience knowledge that other characters like this exist in the world, which is what I do think a lot of this universe was early defined by. Like, Batman vs Superman might sound like a strange second film, but then when you get to like, oh, we've just had the Dark Knight trilogy, everyone fucking knows Batman, do we really need to set up a new Batman? I know it's literally a new actor, but the character, we all know the character of Batman, you know? A bit like earlier what I was saying.
Counterpoint, this version of Batman is nothing like the Dark Knight Batman.
But it's still Batman. You know, it's all about the visuals and the brand, you know, it's Batman. And I'm talking business here, you know? And like earlier what I said about how Spider-Man was smart enough to not give us the death of Uncle Ben again, 'cause everyone just knows that. Like,
I'll counteract you on that though, because until recently we've never had a Flash film, until recently we've never had a Wonder Woman film, until recently we've never had an Aquaman film, until we've never had a Cyborg film. So this is the first introduction to a lot of these characters for your general movie-going audience.
I think everyone knows who they are, though, surely.
Nobody knows who Aquaman is. They know Aquaman is a joke, is a meme.
Yes, they know Aquaman is a joke, but maybe that's why he's less important. That's why you need to fill him in. You know, nobody's going to go see an Aquaman movie. No,
because that's the argument about all of the Marvel movies, right? Oh, no one's going to see a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. As long as the movie's good, it doesn't matter.
I don't know. They gave us Black Panther first in Civil War. Like, I think they were smart there. Guardians of the Galaxy was definitely an exception.
There is the argument about the Marvel movies that the movies just exist to set up the next movie. That is Batman v Superman in its entirety. It all just exists to set up future movies.
I think
the entire Batman v Superman movie is that.
I think you're probably right there, but I think this is the closest we've ever got to a Batman movie as well. I think we get a lot of good Batman stuff in this that we don't quite get in any other appearance of Ben Affleck's Batman.
I think we get a lot of good Bruce Wayne stuff. I don't like any of the Batman stuff in this movie.
Oh, well, see, what I was going to say is there isn't really Bruce Wayne in this movie. I think he's been completely subsumed by evil Batman at this point.
Okay. Here's I'll go through another thing I like about this movie, which is I like it when Batman uses Bruce Wayne as a persona to do things. Mm-hmm. I always think that's an interesting element. Like, he sneaks into this party because it's easier as Bruce Wayne than it is as Batman.
Yeah, I agree.
think that's always a cool element of Batman's story, where instead of Bruce Wayne just being like a disguise, Bruce Wayne is actually like a part of the Batman like power set, basically.
Yeah, I completely agree.
It's a tool he can use.
I
enjoy that.
Agree with you. That's why, like, he's a good Bruce Wayne. I think he's just playing the part of Bruce Wayne. Like, I don't think there is any Bruce Wayne left in him, but by this point in this particular incarnation of Batman's existence. Well, it's all just in the Batcave. He doesn't even have Wayne Manor anymore.
I know there's the whole thing where it's like Bruce Wayne is the mask and Batman is the thing.
Yeah.
I think it was Mr. Sunday Movies at some point said this, that Batman has 3 identities. He has Batman, he has Bruce Wayne, and then he has the real Bruce Wayne, who isn't like the drunk party guy.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. I don't remember Mr. Sunday Movies saying that, but yeah, I would agree with it.
So yeah, I think 2 of those work for me. And just when he's doing Batman, it's just none of that works for me. Part of it is the murder, obviously. I hate the suit. I love the armored suit, but I hate the regular suit.
I love the regular suit. And the thing is, but that very little padding, Ben Affleck got swole for this film.
Sure, the ears need to be taller. The ears always need to be pointier on a Batman, in my opinion. I hate the symbol, the big fat bat symbol. I just don't like it.
This is all very much Dark Knight Returns, you know?
Yeah, I know, and I don't like the look of the Dark Knight Returns suit at all. And like, there's this weird texture on the suit, which I just don't care for.
Yeah, no, I'm personally I'm a fan of it. That's just something we'll need to disagree on, because I love it. I actually was typically not the biggest fan of the armoured suit.
I think the armoured suit looks really good. You've got the white glowing eyes. I just think it looks awesome.
How did those eyes work, Kyle? How is he seeing anything?
I don't care. That doesn't bother me at all. It's Bat Tech. He's got like computer screens behind that.
There is a shot in this film of Batman that I love. There's this big crane shot at the harbour of the White Portuguese, where they're loading the kryptonite onto a
Batman
truck.
Holding a sniper rifle. You love that shot, do you?
Oh, no, so I love that shot, right? But I'm talking about the behind shot where it's his cape fluttering in the wind.
Sure.
Because honestly, every time I watch this film, I forget about that scene and I don't even notice him until it's significantly closer in on him. Like, he just blends in so well. It's wonderful. And the cape just sort of fluttering in the wind, but it's obviously like just draped over his shoulders and down his sides. Terrific. I love when Batman stands like a gargoyle, despite the fact he's on top of a crane, right? I get that.
Can we let's get into the Batman kills people debate, shall we?
Let's get into that.
So here's my thesis on this.
Yeah.
I think that Batman not killing people is just a completely inherent part of the interest and drama of the character, because he's this dark, as you say, kind of messed up guy, but he has this line that he won't ever cross. And if he crosses that line, he becomes just as bad as the people he's hunting. That's the inherent drama of the character. Yeah. And once he starts killing people, then he just becomes the Punisher, right? And just becomes a completely different character.
That's that's what defines Batman.
You can say the Avengers kill people, right? And like superheroes kill people all the time. It's fine. It's just that for me, for specifically who Batman is and what he does, the fact that he doesn't kill people is really important.
I've never found it overly important that he doesn't kill people. That's never where I've gravitated to the character. Oh, that he doesn't kill people.
Well, maybe if Batman is okay with killing people, then why doesn't he just use guns?
Doesn't have license.
I mean, he's already committing crimes.
I'm kidding as I say that. Well, he's a martial arts expert. Maybe he just doesn't like guns. Not like a doesn't like guns in like an ethical disagreement. He just not for him. He has many guns on his Batmobile, you know. Like
yeah, exactly. So why doesn't he just
like he's? I mean,
use
in the nightmare sequence, he does use guns, you know.
Yeah, well, exactly. So why does he always use guns?
A martial arts expert doesn't want to. Maybe he just doesn't want to. Personal taste. He's allowed it. He's definitely allowed it.
He's on a time constraint to save Martha Wayne before she gets burned by a flamethrower. I think your efficiency is key there. Go in with a machine gun. I
love the warehouse bit because he does. He smashes in through the window with the Batwing, gives him a little boost up through the window.
Sure.
And he beats the shit out of everyone.
I've heard for years about the warehouse scene. I think it was just a bit overhyped for me because I was like, oh, this is fine.
Oh, really? I love it. I absolutely love it. In the Ultimate Edition, you see blood splats as well.
Exactly, because I mean, that scene was never going to work for me because Batman is killing people.
I really don't mind, and especially with the knowledge of, like, this Batman's been doing it for 30 years and he's just so jaded. Like, he's just fed up. Like, yes, he's wrong, and I think, to the film's credit, it paints it as somewhat wrong. The film doesn't necessarily agree with
as you say, the warehouse scene is supposed to be badass. That's not painting it as wrong.
Well, in the discussions that he has with Alfred and in the discussions that maybe Superman has with you, you think Superman's a hypocrite, right? But the whole film definitely, I believe, paints Batman, at least, like, his views on Superman being a risk as wrong, you know? I think Superman is never actually lauded for his views. Like, if he just got with the program and stopped fighting Superman, this whole thing would be resolved a lot quicker, you know?
Well, then we have to get into the Lex Luthor question, don't we?
We do have to get into the Lex Luthor question.
Lex Luthor?
Lex Luthor.
My favourite character.
if this was a name not included in the podcast, that would be the episode name.
Jesse Eisenberg, Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
Well, forgetting for a second what Lex Luthor is supposed to be, because that's like a different conversation about like how you adapt this character. Just taking this version of Lex Luthor on its own, just awful. Just thoroughly unlikable, doesn't have any charisma, just knows things that he shouldn't know, and just talks nonsense, and his motivations don't make any sense. Just a terrible element of this film all around.
Like a smarmy little nerd that speaks about his father growing up in East Germany and waving flags to tyrants and stuff. I quite like most of that stuff, to be honest with you.
I just don't care for this performance at all. When he's like shoving Jolly Ranchers into senators' mouths and making weird noises, and
it is that stuff's a little bit strange. I think like
he's just
the sort of
I don't
weird
know. He's too insane to live.
The weird punchable cockiness that he has is quite annoying. I'll agree. Like where he's just like, oh, I want to hit you so much. But I think it's definitely deliberate. Like, it's definitely
I'm not saying it's not deliberate. I just don't enjoy watching it.
You don't think that's a good choice?
No.
I think I used to not be big on it, but I think I'm just so brain rotted with the vision of the DCEU that they had planned out that never went ahead. I'm so deep in the rose-tinted glasses territory. Like, sure, we could have a nice bald Kevin Spacey type, you know? Like... Mm-hmm. The traditional Lex Luthor, the essentially like a laid back Tony Stark villain.
This is what I'm saying. Like, I don't care about
traditional Lex Luthor. You just think this was a bad direction.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's just not a compelling villain.
Well, because I think in many ways he almost is like him and Batman have quite a bit in common up until the points where they diverge. You know, where like they very much. I think both of them are quite hyper cynical of the metahuman thing. You know, they both agree in a defense against it, but Batman, by the end of the film, begins to see differently, and Lex Luthor stays the path. Batman has a change of heart. Lex Luthor stays the same.
Well, let's talk about Lex Luthor's plan, shall we?
Let's talk about Lex Luthor's plan.
First of all, he frames Superman for murder in the desert because somehow he knows that Superman will always come to save Lois Lane.
Yeah.
Because I guess at that point he already knows that Superman is Clark Kent.
I know he doesn't know it at that point in the film.
How do you know that?
Because he finds out when he gets access to the remains of General Zod and the crashed Kryptonian ship, and they ask, what would you like to know? And he says everything.
Is that in the extended cut that it reveals that the ship knows that Clark Kent? Because that's not in the cut I watched.
Okay, that is definitely not revealed, but like...
Well, that's just you inferring. The language of the movie says that he already knows that.
But before that, there's no way he could have.
Well, exactly. He also already knows that Batman is Bruce Wayne. Sure. We'll just accept that, I guess.
We'll just accept that.
And he knows the... point of fact, he knows the identity of every single member of the Justice League.
Wait, does he know that Bruce Wayne is Batman at the start of the film?
Yeah, because he's sending Batman the letters of you let your family die and all that. That's how he's manipulating.
He's sending them to Bruce Wayne.
Yes, exactly, because he's manipulating Bruce Wayne to try and kill Superman. So, he knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman. Because why else would he be sending those letters to Bruce Wayne, some random billionaire?
Yeah, it's a fair point. I had not considered that.
Isn't that obvious? Sorry, I don't mean to insult you, but I thought that was pretty clear in the movie.
I don't know. Maybe the scene structure in my head's different, but by the time that happens, I'm sure other things have happened in the movie that's led him to having made decisions like that. The letters being sent to him happens later on. Well,
he finds out about the letters later on, but the idea was that Lex had been sending those letters for ages, and as you say in as I said in the extended cut, it's revealed that Lex Luthor is paying people to kill the people with Batman's brands.
It wasn't Lex Luthor that was sending him. It was the guy in the wheelchair who Lex Luthor was paying. It was him that was sending the checks back, because he was like, "Has this guy been getting our checks?" Because he's testifying at Congress. And he's like, he's been sending them back, and it's all these horrific messages that he's been writing to Bruce Wayne. But it was him.
That guy was working for Lex.
Well, he only got the new wheelchair and shit from Lex after he got his bail paid out, but he'd been getting those letters longer.
Why would that guy be sending hate messages to Bruce Wayne?
Because he blames him for some reason. I don't know.
No, he blames Superman. That's the whole point.
I know he definitely blames Superman. I know that. He got on top of the statue and spray painted it.
Bruce Wayne is just some guy.
Bruce Wayne's rich billionaire that he used to work for?
Sure, but it's not Bruce Wayne's fault that the skyscraper collapsed.
That's what we know. He even saved him. He helped pick up the beam and got him pulled out from beneath it. I would have thought they were in fairly good terms.
Okay, yeah. So either way, this makes no sense, is what you're saying.
I mean, I agree. I just don't think it's Lex Luthor in that moment. Lex Luthor definitely gave him the wheelchair and put the bomb under the chair. And
okay, well then that gets on to the next point. Superman. Why did Lex Luthor blow up Congress? Why did you put a jar of piss on that lady's table and then blow up Congress?
The jar of the Granny's peach tea jar is just supposed to be a little bit to get at the Congresswoman because they've had that scene earlier on in the film,
I understand that.
And he blows up Congress to frame Superman. Because Superman's in the room.
I understand
and it's lined with lead so Clark couldn't see it.
How does he know that lead stops Superman's vision?
Lead blocks all sorts of shit. That's just something that people know in
that was just a correct guess, was it? Okay.
But I mean, it's a fairly educated guess. I would think that.
Sure. But why... First of all, it doesn't work. The framing of Superman, at least in the version that I read, because no one blames Superman. They're just like, oh, did Superman die in that explosion? Because Superman has disappeared.
Oh no, Superman starts helping take people from the wreckage in the film.
Not in my cut.
Well, Superman is taking people to the like emergency services sitting outside the Capitol, like the steps.
This does not happen in the theatrical cut.
Does it? Because he brings people down, and there's like medical people treating people, and then as he puts somebody down, the EMT sort of looks at him and is like, okay, you're gonna give him some room to work, but he looks at him a little bit kind of warily, like.
Yeah, this is not in the cut I watched.
Right,
There's the
okay.
shot of Superman at the explosion,
Yeah,
where
a
he's
little bit
looking kind of
sad.
upset,
Yeah.
and then he flies away to the Arctic. That's what happens in my cut of the movie.
Right, okay, in the Ultimate Edition, there's a little bit where he starts trying to, like, remove people from the explosion, but there's all the protests outside, and then, like, the EMTs that are helping people, I think, look a little bit wary of him in that moment. Like, they're not quite sure what to think.
Okay, so once again, the theatrical cut makes this make more sense than it does. But, like, sure, they burned all the bodies. What do people think Superman did to blow up Congress?
Heat Vision 360.
That wouldn't make an explosion.
They don't know that. There could be like a generator, like a fuel generator or something in the
Well,
basement.
this is the other question. How much does the world know about Superman in this movie?
I don't think they know a lot. I think they know about the heat vision because they saw it at Metropolis.
Like, does the movie wants to have the world love Superman, but also the world hates Superman and never really resolves these 2 points at any point?
I think by the end, where he sacrificed himself for Doomsday, like they kind of get on board with him. I think I said when we're doing Man of Steel that the film doesn't fully resolve the Earth versus Superman debate, but I think at the end of this it kind of does, because they have like the mural on the ground because his statue's been wrecked, and it says if you seek his monument, look around you. Like society is his monument. He saved everything.
Like Jesus. Yes, I understand. I got
Yeah,
it.
it's terrific. I love it, Kyle.
No, it's not.
I love it. I love it.
It's not terrific. It's
I
bad.
love it. It's not bad at all. Not bad at all.
So there's more to Lex Luthor's plan, because after this he captures Martha Kent.
After that, he goes and sees his dad, Superman.
He goes and sees that's not part of Lex Luthor's plan. That seems whatever. And he talks about drowning horses, and that somehow motivates Superman back. I don't understand why.
Yes, he goes and gets Ma Kent.
He goes and gets Ma Kent, who works in a diner even though she runs a farm. I don't really understand that.
The farm is like not in production. I think the farm's like a dead farm.
Okay, fine, whatever. And then he takes some exploitative pictures of Martha Kent, not Martha Wynne, different Martha. Very importantly, a different Martha.
Very importantly, a different Martha.
And he says, Superman, go kill Batman. But really, he wants Batman to kill Superman. That's Lex Luthor's ideal outcome of that fight, right? Is that Batman kills Superman?
Yeah, later after the fight, when Superman shows up though in the ship, he's like, "I gave the Bat a fighting chance." You know that bit.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, he's growing Doomsday in a big pod.
Yeah, he is. He is doing that.
And I just don't understand what his plan is if Batman actually kills Superman and then Doomsday gets out and destroys the entire world, I guess.
Well, I mentioned this to you before we were recording, but I've always been of the belief there that like he is in control of that ship now. Like it's his ship. He has the off switch. He has the dormant switch. The pause gestation button. It's just dramatic timing that like, you know, because he sets the egg timer. Like at any point he could just freeze that, you know.
But how would he know?
Because Superman wouldn't come racing back, maybe.
How would he know this? Superman would come racing back.
Oh, to stop him. He's like, go kill the Bat. Go kill.
Okay,
the
what if
Batman.
If Superman had killed Batman, then Superman would have immediately raced to save his mum, and then Doomsday would be born. I guess that was his plan. If Superman won, I just don't understand what his plan was if Batman won. That's all. You say he has a pause button. The movie never establishes that.
The film never establishes this at all, but I can believe in the language of the film itself. It's his ship. It's like auto-destruct. You don't need to explain there's a cancellation button in Star Trek. I probably can infer that it's there.
See, the language of the film says to me that ship isn't operating at full capacity, and this weird pod with the Doomsday thing in it is outside of Lex's control at this point, because look at it.
I mean, it's operational enough to do it. to me infers that he's operational off the pause
The
it.
ship also tells him, we don't do this because this is very dangerous.
It is, but it lets him do it, you know? It's just like, by the way, you shouldn't. And he's like, well, I'm gonna. And the ship's like, okay. So the ship can clearly still do a lot.
It's just, by that point, it looks like a natural process. Also, how does a drop of blood mixed with sod make doomsday? I understand this is just like sci-fi magic nonsense, but that's a bit of a reach.
It's just an abomination.
But human blood is weaker than Kryptonian blood. I don't understand how this makes doomsday so powerful.
It's magic.
Sure, it's magic.
It's
whatever.
magic. Yeah, exactly, right?
I just can't stand Lex in this movie. I just can't stand it.
What do you think of the end of the film where he's in prison?
And they shave his head, and you're like, you know this? It's from the comics. Lex Luthor is usually bald.
But when Batman goes to see him, is that scene not in the theatrical cut?
It is in the theatrical cut. That's at the point where it's like, wow, this movie isn't over yet. I thought this movie would have ended by now.
He specifically mentions, like, oh, I'm too insane to stand trial, and then he says the red cape, and he goes ding, 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 ding. Like the dinner bell's been rung.
And he says they're coming, and it's like, how do you know, Lex Luthor? You're just making shit up.
I know the answer to this. This is cut from this is an Ultimate Edition. He's speaking to Steppenwolf. See when the police go to arrest him when he's sitting in the weird Kryptonian fluid in the ship. So there's like a hologram. It's like like in Man of Steel, like all the holograms are like weird sort of etch-a-sketch silver beads. There's like a 3D etch-a-sketch model of Steppenwolf with some mother boxes and the solar systems up around him, and he seems to be in communion with Lex Luthor. But when the police walk in, he sort of scatters and disappears.
Once again, this is not in my version of the movie.
No, I knew that was only in that. I knew that was an Ultimate Edition thing. I forgot about that, but yeah, that's only in the Ultimate Edition.
So Superman dies.
Superman's dead.
He can somehow fly while holding a Kryptonian spear.
Yeah. It's just like he can't punch big, but he can jump big.
Sure, okay. That makes sense. Oh, we didn't even talk about the Batman v Superman fight, actually. Let's talk about that.
I don't really have much to say about it.
I just wanted to say I think it's terrible.
You think it's terrible? I mean, I quite enjoyed the bit where he's punching Superman and the kryptonite starts to wear off and he gets stronger again, the punches slow down.
The entire fight is Superman being a big dummy because, like, he doesn't want to fight Batman, and then he tries twice to talk to Batman and explain the situation, and then when they're right up in his face, he pushes Batman away instead of grabbing him and doing literally anything.
That's very stupid. I completely agree with you. I thought that when I watched it as well. I've always thought that, like, this is just the excuse for them to fight. It's very difficult to give a compelling reason as to how the fight could happen, you know?
The other stupid thing in the fight is, okay, Batman, he has this kryptonite spear, and he plants it in a building, and then he leaves and walks away from the kryptonite spear with the hope that I guess the fight will take them back there, which very luckily for him it did.
Very luckily for him it did, yeah. Well, he had the kryptonite grenade launcher, he'd have just dragged them there. Didn't he? He started dragging them by the cape at one point, I seem to remember this. He
does. He puts a rope around him and drags him like that, I think, and then he swings him around like on a grappling hook into pillars and shit.
It's just good entertainment.
It's just nonsense.
It is nonsense. I will say, listen, audience, you might think Kel's walking circles around me talking this film down, but even by this point of the film, I'm fairly intellectually checked out at that point. The fight is just stupid. But, like,
see, you compare this to the fight. You compare this to the fight in Civil War, and I know it's probably some sort of sin to compare this to Civil War that DC fans will be mad at me for, but whatever. Like, the airport fight in Civil War is supposed to be kind of fun, right? Because all the characters are, like, having fun. They're doing quips. Spider-Man's doing quips. They're referencing Star Wars. Like, there's an understanding there that this isn't serious, and then the more serious fight is the fight at the end.
And they're all friends, but, like, they have a job to do. And they're on opposing sides of the job.
Then it turns more serious at the end when Roddy gets mortally injured. But
that's where it stops being memes.
The reason that fight is fun is because, like, everyone is on the same page about it. The audience
and they also don't have people of stupid power differences fight other people of stupid power differences. Everyone's matched up. Hawkeye fights
Well, when
Black
they do
Widow.
it, they make it a joke. Like when Hawkeye is trying to fight someone and he's just shooting arrows, and it's like, well, what else am I going to do?
But like, he fights Black Widow. Like, they're not going to have Hawkeye fight Vision.
Don't they have Hawkeye shoot an arrow at Vision at some point and it just bounces off him? Oh no, that's earlier in the movie when he's trying to get Wanda. Right, okay.
That's earlier in the film. Yeah, exactly. But like in the fight, you match up people with equivalent powers, you know? Remember Ant-Man flies inside?
I'm not gonna be mad at the concept of Batman v Superman having a fight between Batman and Superman. That's the entire point of the movie, right?
Yeah.
The concept is not the problem, the execution is the problem.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't really built up a compelling reason as to why this fight isn't just immediately, like, over. I think the kryptonite, like, gas canisters were quite smart from Like, they show Batman being quite a good tactician, I think. The sound things, you know, the things that were supposed to suppress him with the noise, the high-pitched frequency booms, and the machine guns that sort of push Superman back and sort of, like, keep him, like, on the one foot, sliding backwards.
They show him trying stuff. I appreciate that. It's just, like, the core concept of the fight. And then, I'm sorry, we have to talk about the Martha thing. We have to talk about it.
Yeah, we go for it, yeah.
Like, the whole point is this idea that Batman realizes that Superman, he's still, like, a man, right? And he understands that, he still has feelings like the rest of us, and he's worried about his mum. When she calls Martha, for some frickin' reason, he doesn't say mum. He says Martha. The movie hasn't, some people call their parents by their first name in some bizarre way that I don't understand, but they've never established that Superman does that.
Yeah, I think I don't think he calls his mother mum. I think he just says, hello you, hello human. You know, like he calls his mum earlier in the film and he just says hi, you know?
I think a big problem with the portrayal of Superman in these movies for me is the movies act like Superman came to Earth when he was like 20. Like he feels distant from all this human stuff even though he grew up on Earth and he should be more human than Kryptonian.
Does he seem distant? I don't think he seems distant. In the Man of Steel he talks about how he grew up in Kansas and he's American as baseball and apple pie, you know?
I don't know. I feel like there's like a distance between Superman and humanity that feels weird to me.
I think he kind of distances himself, but I don't think it's because he doesn't understand social cues or anything like that. I think he's very well tuned in, like he knows how to act. He was at the grocery store and he had the bath and, you know, he's going to flood the apartment because he gets fully clothed into a bath. That's what normal humans do, Kyle.
Uh-huh, right. Amy Adams, again, I don't have much to say, but she's still good in these. All the actors are good. I really like Jeremy Irons as Alfred. I think he's a great Alfred.
Yeah, he is a really good Alfred. He's looking Alfred that's just sort of over it. He's accepted what it is they do. It's like, yeah, I guess we do
anyway,
this.
No, like Martha, right?
Yeah.
I understand what they're going for with the scene, but execution-wise, it's so silly. It's so laugh-out-loud funny to see. Why did you say that name? It's just...
Yeah.
And he's flashing back to his parents dying. It's just... It's laughable.
As I said earlier, Batman is unhinged. And I don't think any Batman can be properly sane.
But he's so unhinged in this movie that I don't understand why that would even convince him.
Because, you know... Superman's just swinging for the fences, and then Amy Adams shows up in the nick of time. Lois Lane, that's his mother's name. You have a mother called Martha too.
See, here's how I would do this movie. He's about to kill Superman, and then Lois Lane comes over and offers about to take the shot for him, and then he realizes Superman has a family and stuff. That would be a better execution of that moment than the Martha thing.
Possibly.
But then you would be at risk of giving Lois Lane something to do in this movie.
The Ultimate Edition, she's lots to do. She's speaking to the general, trying to find out the source of the bullet. The bullet was given to the private army by LexCorp.
But critically, does any of that actually matter to the plot of the movie?
No, it is giving her busy work. Work.
And then she throws a spear into the water and then immediately has to get the spear back out of the water again.
Yeah. Yeah, should have just left it there. Should never have taken it out.
Anyway, let's get back to Doomsday now. Because, first of all, this is a terrible design for Doomsday. He just looks like nothing.
I should say, I don't think Doomsday looks good in anything. I think
I'll agree with that. I think Doomsday is just kind of a terrible design to begin with.
I don't think Doomsday's ever particularly visually interesting.
This movie does not need Doomsday in the first place, but
No, it does
whatever,
not.
He's here now, I
He's
guess.
Here. We got Doomsday. Hello, Doomsday.
And Wonder Woman shows up, and I don't know if I like Wonder Woman's theme, but it is certainly memorable.
I love Wonder Woman's theme. Oh, great. Get used to it when we get to Wonder Woman, by the way.
I know, I have seen Wonder Woman. That's one of the 3 movies I've seen.
True.
So.
Get used to it by the time you get to Shazam 2, The Fury of the Gods. Get used to
We're
it.
quite away from that.
We are quite away from that. Well, we're talking about what we're... It's very strange, right? Because I have lots of thoughts about Ben Affleck, but I think maybe I'll talk about maybe him when we get to things like Justice League, or even when we get to The Flash, because as the DCU starts to fall apart, you can see the cast are all trying to kind of leave before the films are finished. But somehow they always end up coming back to do cameos because everyone's doing each other favors.
I mean, this movie did spawn the sad flick meme, so...
It did. I think unwarrantedly. Everyone gave Ben Affleck shit when he was cast out. That's something people forget now. I think people just kind of accept that he's now a Batman because the DCU gone on to be a bigger mess. But back when this film came out, the biggest concern people had wasn't about the concept of them making this as their second entry.
I know, it was Batfleck, I understand.
It was Batfleck. Like, that was crazy. Despite how talented he is.
They did that for every Batman, though. They did the same for Robert Pattinson. They did the same for
Keaton.
Christian Bale.
Yeah.
You know, it's always going to happen.
Did people react negative? I don't remember. I'm just too young. I don't remember any of the feedback to Christian Bale's announcement.
I'm fairly sure I've heard that people were... I mean, you look at Christian Bale's roles before Batman, and you can see why people would be concerned, because he hadn't really done anything like this
The
before.
only one everyone was happy with the announcement was George Clooney. Everyone thought, that's a good Batman.
He probably could have been a good Batman, to be fair.
He could have been. He is a good Batman in The Flash.
We're not there yet.
We're not there yet. We're really not there yet.
So, Superman dies, and it's as an emotional moment, it falls completely flat for me. Not just like, obviously I know that Superman comes back with future knowledge, but I'm pretty sure even if I watched this movie at the time, I would guess that Superman is coming back to life.
Yeah. I mean,
it's not even a secret, because like the dirt moves at the end of the movie, and it's like, oh well.
Which, given how they end up resurrecting him in Justice League, makes no sense.
No, I know, I understand, but like
he's
obviously that was an indication.
Yeah, he's fairly conclusively dead. But yeah, no post-credit scene though.
No, I mean, there's a bunch of scenes before the credits that may as well have been post-credit scenes, but yeah.
I quite like the juxtaposition of Superman's big state funeral with the jets and the cannons and the big black coffin with the silver S, and then Clark Kent's very modest funeral and the box on the ground.
The big military funeral from the
I
same guys that threw New Cam. So,
I quite enjoy the big military funeral. I think it's quite effective.
Whatever.
Listen,
they have this extended funeral scene for a character I know is going to come back, so it just doesn't land for me at all.
Yeah, but it's to do with society treating it like the whole film had a big thing of, can we trust this Superman? The whole point of this end is, well, look, he's proven himself and he died. This film falls into the trope that I think you disagree with, that someone has to die to kind of prove their strength or importance or anything.
But why? Because it's exactly the same thing as Man of Steel, where it's like, as far as the general public knows, he caused this problem that he then solved. So this is just like,
no, they arrest Lex Luthor. It's all Lex's fault. It's all Lex's fault.
The general public just saw a big monster man.
No, I can concede that we know that it was Lex Luthor shenanigans. Lex Luthor's now a villain. Lex Luthor is he's shunned public businessman that released some sort of LexCorp experiment, and Superman saved the day.
Okay, well, the movie does not establish that.
The movie doesn't, but I think lots of films don't always make stuff explicit for me to still just kind of acknowledge that, well, that logically makes sense. Like, if Superman saved the day and if you seek his monument, look around you, the whole film's giving it, Superman's a good guy, and we, the audience, explicitly know what he's done, and the film does at no point kind of treat it as a mystery either. The military are certainly watching it all unfold. I
don't know, just like in Man of Steel, I think this whole, Superman, can we trust him thing is completely half-baked.
We'll need to just agree to disagree on that part, but I think this film fairly conclusively comes down, we can trust him. He's dead now, of course we can trust him. It's easy to trust the dead.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have very strongly contrasting opinions on this movie, as expected.
Yeah, as expected. I think when it comes to some of the other films, as we said when we did Man of Steel, we'll line up a fair amount, but we have a rocky opening.
I'm curious to see how it goes for our next movie, which is, of course, 2016's not the Suicide Squad, just Suicide Squad.
Just Suicide Squad. I probably imagine I'll like this more than you, but also I'll have my fair amount of criticisms. This is probably the last movie
where we're going to be thoroughly disagreeing. I don't know, the Snyder Cut might separate us as well. We'll see.
Yeah, the Snyder Cut might separate us as well, but we'll see, because we are watching both Justice League and Snyder Cut.
I guess I also, maybe we can talk about this more off camera, I kind of want to throw in some of the things that are not technically DCEU movies that came out in the same era and are part of this kind of culture, like Joker. I'd kind of like to throw in Joker as well.
We'll do some Robot Bats, the Batman, and the Joker bonus episodes, totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to do that, yeah.
Anyway, that was Batman v Superman.
That was Batman vs Superman. Are you doing the outro here?
I guess I'll do the outro.
Give us an energetic bounce, come on. Hype yourself up.
Alright, Nathan, where can people find you on the internet?
People on the internet can find me at Nathan Tinney on all social medias, basically, around there. It'll be pretty obvious to find. I'm always engaged. I am also the primary operator over at Enter the DCEU on Twitter as well at the moment, so I'll be posting the episodes in there. If you see anyone discussing anything on there from that account, it's also probably going to be me.
Well, it's definitely going to be, because I don't have access to the account.
Well, you do. I would always give you access, Kyle. It's just I think you're leaving that to me to do.
Yes. You need something to do.
I need something to do. Kyle's the tech guy. I'm the PR guy. I'm the one that'll shout at you and say you just didn't get it, you know? That's where you'll be able to find me online. And Kyle, where can they find you?
Well, they can, of course, find me at Kyle the Scott on YouTube. I think it's Kyle X Scott on Twitter, although I've been using Twitter a lot less recently than before, which might be the topic of an upcoming video. I'll give it a little drop teaser now.
Oh, teaser, everyone!
But yes, so keep an eye on that. I just released a video about Halo 3, so go
It's a very good
watch
video.
That. Thank you.
I really liked it.
And thank you very much for listening, and we will hear from you again when we talk about Suicide Squads.
Absolutely. We'll see you next time, everyone.